Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, reach out to me directly, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a 2020 limited edition of 700 pieces in titanium. This is the Grand Seiko Sport Collection, Grand Seiko 60th Anniversary 600-meter Pro Diver SLGA001. The watch is 46.9 millimeters in titanium, 15.7 millimeters thick. From lug to lug, it measures 50.8 millimeters, and if we include the end links, then it is a beefy 54.5 millimeters across the wrist with a 23 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Pop the clasp open. This one is exceptionally fresh and newly arrived to the pre-owned market. And though a large watch, it wears easily on my wrist. Part of that is the fact that the case itself isn't huge. Lug to lug, it's not too broad. Link to link sounds broad, but it actually fits easily, and I can recommend it for a wrist as small as 15 centimeters circumference. It's not as thick as I thought it would be, and all in titanium, it is very, very light. You can see that down the barrel shot, from overhead, and then the cuff shot. Jacket compatible, yes. Dress cuff, probably not. The watch is beautifully made, as Grand Seikos tend to be. The attention to detail on the case is as good as the attention to detail on the bracelet and vice versa. The bevel is incredibly handsome along the shoulders of the links. You have polished intermediate, staggered link alignment, a pronounced taper, satin finished shoulders as well as centers. And as you can see, this being a titanium Grand Seiko bracelet, pins and sleeves are used for sizing, but you have quite a bit of adjustability built in. There is an extensible clasp that you can use all out over a dive suit, or if you wish, you can actually use it for minute sizing, little incremental sizing changes, and you just lift these little internal triggers and it's easy to adjust in or out. You'll also appreciate the fact that this is a system that is adjustable when the watch is on your wrist, so you're not accidentally going to drop it in a marine environment. Now, there's a double locking system. The first, as you can see, is a twin trigger, so you close with the twin triggers and then you lock with the clamshell. Pop it all open, and you can see internally there are some divots drilled within the clasp, so you have the adjustable system. You have these 4 divots drilled, so you can use your strap tool to change the anchoring point of the bracelet, and then you have many individual links for sizing. The case is handsome and handsomely faceted, a contrast between curves and creases, satin and polish. This is that Zaratsu black polishing technique of which we've often spoken on this channel. It is a tin plate polishing technique in which the case is held directly against the spinning tin plate by an artisan who will spend up to 3 years learning this technique. So what you're looking at is optically smooth mirrored finish that is applied by hand. So this is a hand-finished watch. The bezel has a wonderfully silky 120 click glide. Listen. And it has a ceramic bezel insert for scratch resistance. You can also see this one still has some of the original packing adhesive from the sealing sticker that went over the dial and the bezel when it was new. So this is an exceptionally fresh example. The dial, though I'm not sure if it shows on the camera, is a lustrous metallic sunburst blue. Again, a tribute color often featured on Grand Seiko anniversary models. That lovely metallic blue is a signature of the brand. It is an applique dial with applique indices and lovely broad arrow minutes with a cathedral aviation style hour hand. It is a spring drive. This is a all new spring drive automatic. The main change, well, the big change is 5 days of power reserve rather than 3. There are other changes. We'll go into that in a minute. The crown is located off center down at about 4 o'clock, so this watch can be worn ambidextrously without cutting into your wrist. And Grand Seiko still believes in swapping out to straps with dive watches, which is why there are strap hole or strap tool apertures in the lug profiles. Now, the dial is just gorgeous with satin finish on the hands and polish on the indices. These little components tend to be finished and applied by hand at Grand Seiko. My favorite detail is the lollipop loomed counterweight to the seconds hand. You can also see, as this is spring drive, there is a continuous glide of the seconds hand, which is distinctive of this technology, and a power reserve indicator conveniently segmented into 5 for 5 days or 120 hours of power reserve via twin mainspring barrels in this newly updated spring drive automatic. Now, this movement is the 9RA5 spring drive, newly accurate to plus or minus 10 seconds a month rather than 15 by virtue of a 3-month aged hand-selected quartz oscillator. And it also features the twin barrels, the new 5-day power reserve, automatic winding, stop seconds for the seconds hand, and a quick set for the date, the power reserve indicator. It has a number of significant upgrades, but I should mention that it's contained in a 600-meter water-resistant case that is considered rated for saturation diving, which it says on the case back. While it does not include a helium escape valve, Grand Seiko boasts that the sealing of this case is sufficient that titanium cannot intrude. Therefore, there is no need for a helium escape valve. No helium in, no helium out in this titanium vessel. A lot to say about this movement. First, it's thinner, and that allows the watch to be thinner. Revisions to the magic lever winding system and a new train bridge allow the movement to be 5 millimeters thick versus the previous 5.8 millimeters. It is also more shock tolerant, and as a result, the watch is able to pass the ISO 6425 dive watch certification or criteria that are laid out by the ISO. So it meets the ISO 6425 shock criteria for a true dive watch. And it also features a more instantaneous jumping date rather than a dragging changeover. It is now almost instantaneous in Rolex-like fashion at the turn of midnight. There is a lot to love here. This is a technically adept, technically proficient, incredibly accurate watch with the soul of a mechanical movement and the accuracy of a quartz. Spring drive, of course, is a fusion of the two watchmaker-built, watchmaker-tuned, and when the time comes, watchmaker-serviced, a dive watch for life, and a 700-piece limited edition. Reach out to Tim Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And we're back with the SLGA001, a beast at night.